Much like the Pirates' 2026 season on the whole, the series in San Diego, some interesting moments, some fun moments, but ultimately not enough. I'm Matt Geica. This is Pirates Rapid Reaction. As the Pirates essentially needed a sweep here at Petco Park in order to keep things mildly interesting for the upcoming couple of weeks. They did not get the sweep. They have won 3 of their past 4 series, but they had dug such a deep hole with their post-All-Star game slump that just winning series isn't going to cut it anymore. They have to reel off some consecutive wins, and it's just not happening right now. They're definitely creeping closer back to the type of team that we saw earlier in the year. Maybe not the exact same type of team because they were shut out today for an MLB-leading 15th time. I'm not sure how a team is top 5 in the entirety of Major League Baseball in runs. I think top 3 still, actually, third place. They've been as high as 1 this season in runs scored, and somehow they've been shut out this many times. And, of course, they have a lot of swing and miss in their game. Just in general, they have a lot of erraticism, if that's a word. They are erratic, I'll put it that way, at the plate. And when they're going well, when they're hot, and when they're not, they are certainly not. And we saw it again today in almost absurd fashion, the Pirates getting blanked. They had 2 men on. They had the first 2 men on in an inning 4 times today. 4 times in 9 innings. They had 2 on and nobody out. Did not score a single run, obviously. And per the research at Sportsnet Pittsburgh, that's the first time that has happened in Major League Baseball since 1980. I was negative 5 years old in 1980. The Texas Rangers were the last to accomplish the feat, he said in air quotes. So the Pirates did something quite spectacular today in a totally negative fashion, and I suppose that's what we'll have to take away from today's game. That and O'Neal Cruz throwing an absolute seed to home plate to cut down another San Diego run in the 8th inning. Could have made it a little bit more of an easy finish for the Padres, who are in that 3rd and final National League wild card spot. The Pirates are trying to climb back to within 6.5 of San Diego today, and couldn't get it done. That's what we're doing. We're reaching for just the possibility of getting to 6 games back in the wild card race. That's the 3rd wild card spot, mind you. And I said it on the previous show a week ago that the standard's not as high as it used to be. I know in the National League it's higher than it is in the American League. If the Pirates had their same record in the AL, they'd be right in this thing at 65 and 70. Like I said, they're now 7.5 out of a playoff spot. In the AL, they would be, well, it wouldn't be great, but they would be, looks like 3.5 or so out of playoff position. So they still wouldn't be in a playoff spot, but they'd be in slightly better shape. And if they were in the American League West, they'd be just a couple of games out of first place, come to think of it. And so a lot of that is stuff you can't control. Stuff you can control, the Pirates have not been doing very well at. And today they failed to follow up on what was a couple of thrilling wins. What were a couple of thrilling wins, if I can get my grammar right. Hey, take it easy on me. It's a little bit late here, as I couldn't get on the air right after the game. But better this game than the first 2 games of the series, which ended at midnight or after midnight. But the Pirates were quite good after midnight, under the cover of darkness, when most folks back in the Eastern time zone were asleep. They went to work. They won the game in 12 innings. On Monday night, they won 1-0 on an O'Neal Cruz bomb off Mason Miller, of all people. Kind of ironic. There were talks and not serious discussions, not serious reports, but folks saying, why not trade O'Neal Cruz for Mason Miller? Well, Cruz decided to homer off Mason Miller, the first person to do that in a year. Yes, literally a year's time since the last person homered off the Padres ace closer, and Cruz did it. So if there's one positive to take away from this past week, even the sweep at the hands of the Dodgers last weekend, it's that O'Neal Cruz is doing all the things that make him both an interesting and valuable player, but also a fun baseball player to watch. I mentioned the throwing arm today, and you're seeing base runners definitely be a little less aggressive, trying to take the extra base against the Pirates when the ball is hit to center field. So Cruz's arm, obviously, everyone knows about it, and it has a real level of deterrence there. No offense to Jake Mangum, but the arm is certainly not a strong suit for him. I think he gets the most out of his talent in a lot of ways, but he does not have the talent in that right arm. So O'Neal Cruz might have more talent as far as throwing the baseball from a non-pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. So there's that. There's the power. The speed on the base pass, extra bases. He's got a couple of triples since he came back. He's showing why he should be a cornerstone, or at least a very prominent piece in the next contending Pirates team, which we thought might be 2026. Looks like best case scenario, we're going to have to hope for 2027. We're going to have to hope for some baseball next year for that to happen. And depending on your point of view, I'm not necessarily married to forcing baseball to happen next year if it means the same old broken economic system. Maybe we can talk about that at a different juncture or in a different video, but I'm on the record saying that I'm on MLB's side with this one. So if it takes a lengthy lockout, if we're playing just a half season or even less than that next year, I'm okay with it as long as we get both a cap and a floor set up there as far as team payrolls are concerned. The rest of it is minutia for me. It's got to be about the cap and the floor, and because of that, we're going to see quite the labor battle this offseason, I would predict, and that's not going out on any kind of a limb. But what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the Pirates and their potential return to the playoffs. This team was close this year, and they may end up fading quite badly down the stretch. I have a hard time believing the offense is going to look this bad for the next 4 to 5 weeks to close out the season. But as I said multiple times, not to pat myself on the back here, but I did say it a few times, I don't think this offense is as good as the run production that they've put on the board this year. I think they're pretty darn good. I think it's been refreshing to see some actual power, some lefty power too, to take advantage of those dimensions at PNC Park, but it was not long lasting. Part of that due to injuries, of course, losing Cruz for well over a month. That was a real downer. Ryan O'Hearn being out of the lineup, that condenses the portion of the lineup that can actually hurt you. Spencer Horwitz has not been good since his return, especially in August. He's been quite abysmal, in fact, but when he was going in the first half of the season, he also lengthened that lineup. A lot of times in the leadoff spot, some other times further down the lineup, but he's another competent hitter, or he was looking like a competent hitter for a long stretch, and I think he is a productive piece and will be a productive piece for this Pirates team into the near future. But Ben Cherington gets an incomplete in a big way because he didn't have the bullpen set up for success in the first half, and that burned them in many situations. We saw so many games squandered. Then he does get the bullpen set up, and it looks like the bullpen might be the best part of the team at the moment, right adjacent to the starting pitching rotation. Once again, we saw, well, first of all, exciting to see Paul Skeens both get the velocity up on Tuesday night, but also look more effective. The breaking pitches look sharper. Maybe he's getting his mechanics straightened out. That'd be great to see in the final few weeks of the season. And I'll talk a little bit more about some things I want to see and what we can take from the home stretch, even if it's not going to be a playoff race like we had all hoped. So there's Skeens. There's, of course, Braxton Ashcraft, again, effective in this series to start it off on Monday night. Not as effective as he was in the 2 previous starts, but that would have been pretty tough. He would have had to have thrown a no-hitter or a perfect game to be more effective than he was in his previous 2 starts. But Ashcraft is back to a high level. Bubba Chandler, not bad today. Certainly deserved better than just another loss on the record. And as far as he's concerned, as far as Ashcraft and Skeens are concerned, those are the big 3. Those are the important guys, at least until we see maybe some draft picks make their way to the major leagues. Maybe a guy named Seth in the near future. But as far as right now and going into the early part of 2027, whenever the season does begin, those 3 guys are going to have to be your guys. So that part is positive to see them get back on track in both minor and major ways. In the case of Ashcraft, it's been a major way in the last few weeks for him. So all encouraging stuff, but there's this thing about following a team that's around 500. When you're following a team that's winning a lot, you get used to that, and that becomes, of course, very fun in its own way. But even if you're following a team that is losing or is actually intentionally tanking, maybe not saying it out loud, but you can tell from their actions, a lot of teams aren't really trying to win. In that case, you throw the results out the window and you look for these bright spots, and you can still find some pleasure as a fan in that way. A 500 team or a team that's right around that mark, and I'll call the Pirates that for argument's sake here, that can be the most excruciating team to follow because you see the moments of promise, you see winning some series, you see positive things, but then also, by nature of being a 500 team or whereabouts, you have just as many, if not more, negative things canceling out those positive things. And so you're left wondering, who are the real Pirates in this case? And it's a great question. It's one that maybe Ben Cherington will have a chance to try to solve in the offseason. Maybe he won't have that opportunity. I think that is at least somewhat up in the air. I don't know if I'd say he's guaranteed to come back for another season in charge of the Pirates, as he has yet to complete this rebuild. As we're seeing right now, they're still a little bit away from where they need to be, or where you thought they might be in 2026, and where you thought that they could be. Certainly, as far as the ceiling of their potential, they're well short of that, because we saw that for a while this year, and the bottom has fallen out in August. August, once again, just post All-Star break, has not treated the Pirates well. It's like one of these years they got to figure out a way to have a better record in the second half than in the first half, but I think it's gone all the way back to 2018 that they have had a worse record after the break compared to before the break. So that's also, I don't know what you do with that, because you have different combinations of players over those years, and you have, of course, in some of those years, teams that were not trying to win. I was talking about tanking teams, the 2020 Pirates, the 2021 Pirates, maybe even 2022. Those teams were not built to win, so you're not surprised if they flag down the stretch when all morale is lost, and you're maybe playing some guys who aren't quite deserving of all that major league playing time. So there's that, but it is a concern. I don't know if it's something that's necessarily a mental bugaboo for this team, or if you believe in franchise culture carrying over. I only believe in that as far as the players that remain, and the Pirates have turned over so many players over the past, certainly decade, but even the past 5 years, that I have a hard time buying into all that. And I've told you before, I don't believe in curses or anything like that. If the Cubs can win the World Series, if the Red Sox can win 3 World Series this century, then anything can happen. And I know they are more well-funded than the Pirates, so that certainly tips the scales in their favor as far as making a big breakthrough. But if the Tampa Bay Rays can win year in and year out, I know they haven't won the World Series. They've only been to a couple of World Series over the last, 15, 20 years. But it's 2 more World Series the Pirates have been to. It's a heck of a lot more both regular season and postseason success than the Pirates have had. And the Pirates have an actual fan base. I think it's still out there. They're still watching, at least on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. And the Pirates, by the way, re-up with Sportsnet Pittsburgh, so the agreement's going well there. But the Pirates do have a latent fan base. They don't show up at the ballpark necessarily, but there are plenty of people out there. I'm not sure you could say the same about the Tampa Bay Rays, but the Rays make it work in a dump of a facility, in a situation where it's really tough to win. They do it. And so if they can do it, I think anyone can do it. But it's a matter of first finding that breakthrough success and then building on that momentum. And the Pirates just have not punched through that glass ceiling ever since the 2015 season. It's been a decade of returning to the pits that they were in, no pun intended, prior to the Clint Hurdle years. So we're still back there, and the hardest thing to do is to turn it around, to break through that inertia. And once you do that, then positive things start happening. Maybe players start looking at Pittsburgh as far as a free agent destination. You can start to build upon confidence of guys. You can give youngsters better situations to get their first playing time in the big leagues too, because they'll have adequate support. It all builds on itself, but you just got to churn past that break-even point, get back at least into a winning record, and then go from there. And of course, these days, a winning record would very easily get you a playoff berth, not automatically, but a reasonably decent record above 500 by about 10 games should get you into the playoffs these days. But the Pirates have continually fallen short of that. Another piece of bad news, Endy Rodriguez, who I thought was finding form and looking strong this year in the middle of the year. He's going to be out for several months, looking like 7 to 9 months after having hip surgery. So Rodriguez continues to miss time, and I know that Rafael Flores Jr. has filled in well, but I'm just not sure about his staying power. And we all know Henry Davis, great defensive catcher, but he's not going to be able to hit his way out of a paper bag. So that will also be a sticking point for the Pirates in the offseason. What do they do at that position? What do you do about Esmeralyn Valdez? He, for a while, was the rookie sensation of all rookie sensations, at least in the National League. And now, well, he just hit his first home run just a couple of nights ago in over a month. So he was stuck on 15 dingers for a while. That's a good place to be stuck. But still, he was starting to get pitched around, and that swing and miss, even in the zone, continues to be persistent as far as the rates are concerned. So, who is Esmeralyn Valdez? What can he show us over the next month or so? I think that's important. Continue to run him out there. I talked about Cruz getting some positive results for him and having him feel like he's an integral part of this team, because I think he is. Skeens, Ashcraft, Chandler, all guys to watch for sure as we go into September here. So there's plenty to look out for, but it's all very familiar if you're a Pirates fan. I thought this year was going to be different, and that we'd at least see some mildly interesting, not pennant chase baseball, but postseason chase baseball going past Labor Day, but it's not going to happen. The Pirates needed a sweep here. If they can sweep St. Louis, that'd be great, but the Padres were the team that they're trying to catch at the moment, and a team they could really grab onto and maybe slow down a bit. They did slow them down a bit, I suppose. They did that, but to deliver to the Padres 3 straight losses would have made things at least a little more feasible. As of right now, they play the Cardinals this weekend in St. Louis. They're 2 games behind St. Louis, but they're right in the middle of the pack in the wild card chase. They have just as many teams ahead of them as they have below them now. The Reds, Nationals, Mets, Giants, and Rockies are below the Pirates, and the Cardinals, Marlins, and Diamondbacks are between the Pirates and the playoffs. So as unlikely as it was a week ago, it's darn near impossible now. The playoff chances, both on Fangraphs, and I think what Baseball Reference has another metric too, they're under 1%. Both of those sources are, as far as trying to do the calculations. Yeah, that sounds about right with where the Pirates are. They need a miracle. Getting a sweep here would have been nice, but like I said at the top, some interesting moments, some fun moments for the Pirates, but much like the entire season, not enough to get them to where they wanted to go and to get them where we all want to see this franchise get back to. So there's that. And there's also the fact that Nick Gonzalez might not be able to play a position in a major league uniform. He's probably a DH, but does he hit well enough to be a DH? I don't know about that. Jacob Gonzalez continues to flail at the plate and also not looking outstanding in the field either. Doesn't bring a ton there. So maybe you better hope that you bring back a guy like Brandon Lau for next year. I don't know, because without him, then this lineup looks a lot less potent. And I know he's not a perfect player, but he has been a productive player. So a lot of things for Ben Cherington or whoever has the job this winter to consider. And I hope they're not blinded by the first 3 to 4 months when this looked like a playoff contending team. Because in the end, you are what your record says you are, and that's where the Pirates are, at 65-70, and pretty much well out of the National League wildcard race. Thanks for watching Pirates Rapid Reaction. I'm Matt Geica. Make sure to like and subscribe. More of these shows coming up. Maybe not as many as I'd hoped. I was hoping, once again, that this would be one of those situations where we're looking for constant updates. We're all watching the standings, watching the scoreboard each and every night, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that type of year. So I guess wait till next year, or wait till 2028, or whatever happens with the pending MLB labor dispute, or actually a dispute going on right now. Sure to escalate in the offseason. I know that. And once we get to that point where there's an actual lockout, which appears all but certain, then we'll have some different baseball topics to talk about. But for right now, still trying to enjoy baseball being in season, even if the Pirates don't make it, which they don't make it very often. But even if they don't, I do love checking out who's surprising, who is making the move, who's trying to contend, and who's going to try to knock off a team like the Dodgers for the World Series. So I'll be locked in on baseball. I'll be watching the Pirates, and you'll be hearing from me periodically over the next 4 to 5 weeks. So until then, have a great night, and I'll talk to you when I talk to you. Maybe this weekend. We'll see, though, as the Pirates season has entered the looking for individual performances, looking for silver linings